Why do some people walk into a room and suddenly the air feels different? Why do certain individuals barely speak, yet everyone listens when they do? Why are we pulled toward some people without even realizing why? There's no trick, no performance, no loud voice demanding attention. It's something deeper, something invisible but powerful. Every day, we pass by dozens of people, on the street, at work, in our homes. And yet, only a few leave a lasting impact. It's not their clothes. It's not their wealth. It's not even their looks. It's their presence, a kind of silent strength that doesn't beg for attention, but earns it. We don't always know why we admire them, but we do. And somewhere inside, we wish we could be like them. Take the example of someone who's always calm in chaos. When others panic, they breathe. When others shout, they think. These people don't force others to notice them. They don't try to impress, but they become unforgettable. Why? Because self-control speaks louder than noise. Because those who master their emotions become the leaders of every room, even in silence. Welcome to Book Boost, the space where we grow quietly, but powerfully. If you're someone who's tired of chasing approval and ready to become the one others seek, this video is for you. Drop a like if you feel the pull to become stronger. Share this if you know someone who needs this message. Subscribe, because every week, we fuel your inner journey. And please, drop down your one thought on believe in yourself in the comments. Let this be a place where strength meets truth. This world doesn't reward the loudest voice. It remembers the firm one, the calm one, the one that holds itself together when everything else falls apart. Becoming the first choice of others is not about performing. It's about transforming. It starts from within, through stillness, through character, through the way you show up even when no one is watching. What people chase on the outside, a few build from the inside. And that is the deepest kind of power, the inner stillness that commands respect. There is a kind of strength that doesn't need to shout, compete, or prove itself. It's quiet. It's calm. It sits within a person like a still lake that reflects the sky above. This strength is called inner stillness. And once a person learns to live in it, they no longer chase attention. Attention begins to follow them. In this noisy world, most people are reacting. One small criticism, and they feel hurt. One delay, and they grow impatient. One disagreement, and they burn with anger. But there are a few who remain steady. They do not explode. They do not bend. They do not crumble. They stand firm. These people may not speak much, but when they do, others listen. Why? Because they carry something rare. Self-control. The Stoics believe that the most powerful man is the one who has power over himself. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This is not about being emotionless. It's about understanding emotions so well that they no longer control you. A person who is moved by every emotion is like a leaf in the wind. But the one who learns to observe their thoughts, to sit in silence when the world demands noise, that person becomes unshakable. You do not have to react to everything. In fact, the more you react, the more power you give away. When you respond with silence, with thoughtfulness, with patience, you show strength. That strength earns respect, not because you forced it, but because you stayed true to yourself. People respect those who remain calm under pressure. And more than respect, they trust them. Trust is not built by talking a lot. It is built by showing consistency. When people see that your mood does not swing wildly, that your words match your actions, and that your emotions don't control your behavior, they begin to feel safe around you. And in a world full of chaos, people are always searching for someone who feels like peace. We live in a time where everyone wants to be seen, but few want to do the quiet work of becoming. Inner stillness is not built in a moment. It is built every day, in the way you handle stress, in the way you respond to failure, in the way you talk to those who disagree with you. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. We waste it chasing things outside of us. But the one who turns inward, who builds their mind like a fortress, becomes valuable, not because of titles or talents, but because of character. And character is built in silence, when no one is watching. If someone insults you, ask yourself, does their opinion have power over your peace? If someone outshines you, remind yourself, your path is not theirs. If you are overlooked, remember, the strongest trees grow slowly, deeply, and without applause. It is easy to be reactive, easy to explode, easy to complain. But nothing noble is ever easy. It is hard to remain silent when you're angry. It is hard to listen when you want to speak. It is hard to hold your ground when your emotions beg you to fall apart. But that's what makes you different. That's what makes you respected. The truth is, people don't remember how loud you were. They remember how you made them feel. Did you bring peace? Did you offer stability? Did you hold yourself together when things fell apart? That is the mark of someone who commands respect without ever asking for it. Every day gives you chances to practice this. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when a message is left unread, when you're blamed unfairly. These are the small trials where the soul is trained. And every time you choose calm over chaos, silence over reaction, discipline over impulse, you grow. Not in a way the world can measure, but in a way the soul can feel. You don't need to announce your power. Let it be seen in your presence. Let it show in how you walk, how you sit, how you speak, not with arrogance, but with quiet confidence. The kind that comes from knowing who you are and not needing to prove it to anyone. Remember, you don't become the first choice of others by pretending to be strong. You become it by actually being strong, inwardly. People want to be near someone who knows how to carry peace in their eyes, patience in their tone, and depth in their silence. Let others chase attention. You chase mastery of self. Because once you command yourself, the world starts to notice, without you ever needing to ask. That is the kind of power that stays. That is the kind of respect that never fades. The power of invisible discipline. There is a kind of strength that no one sees. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention. But it is always there, shaping the person from within. This strength is called discipline, and not the kind that is forced from the outside, but the kind that grows quietly, from deep within a person's soul. This is the kind of discipline that changes everything, without ever needing to be seen. People often admire confidence, respect talent, and chase after those who appear successful. But behind every person who seems to have it all together lies one secret: invisible discipline. The kind of discipline that wakes you up before the world expects anything from you. The kind that says no when everything inside you screams yes. The kind that keeps going when no one is watching and no one will ever give you credit. That is the discipline that builds trust, and more than trust, it builds presence. You don't need to announce your goals to anyone. You don't need to tell people what you're working on. You just need to keep showing up, silently, consistently. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." The same rule applies here. Don't tell people you're disciplined. Let them feel it in your choices. Let them notice it when you stay calm, when you choose patience over anger, silence over gossip, effort over comfort. These small, unseen decisions build something that no one can take from you: your character. And it is character, not charm, that makes someone the first choice. Because charm can fade, looks can change, but discipline shapes the way you move in the world. It shapes the way you speak. It shapes your tone, your habits, your ability to be counted on. And people notice. Even if they don't say it, they feel it. The person who doesn't complain, who doesn't chase rewards, who doesn't need validation to keep working, they become the pillar that others lean on when life becomes shaky. When you practice invisible discipline, you train yourself not to react to every little thing. You don't post every win. You don't explain every step. You build in silence. You train your mind to stay calm when others are loud. You protect your energy. And because of this, you slowly rise, without shouting, without rushing. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic, once reminded himself, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." This wasn't cruelty. It was power. He knew that mastering yourself is the first step to influencing the world around you. Look at those who are admired. Not the ones who entertain, but the ones who lead. The ones whose lives speak louder than their words. These people don't get there by accident. They sacrifice daily pleasures for long-term peace. They work in the dark so their future can shine. They choose effort over excuses. It's not easy, but that's the point. If it were, everyone would have it. But few do. And those few become the ones others trust, follow, and choose. Discipline is not about suffering. It's about choosing what matters most over what feels good right now. It's about knowing that every time you resist the easy path, you take one step closer to becoming the person you're meant to be. And no, you don't get immediate applause for this. But one day, people will wonder how you became who you are. And the answer will be simple. You did what was hard, quietly, when no one else would. This invisible discipline also protects you from emotional traps. When you train your mind to stay grounded, you don't fall into the drama of others. You don't waste your time proving things to people who don't matter. You don't get pulled into every argument, every mood, every distraction. You stay focused. You stay aligned. And slowly, people start looking up to you, not because you told them to, but because they feel something different about you. A calm power, a steady mind, a quiet force. In a world where everyone is trying to be seen, the one who is building in silence becomes rare. And what is rare becomes valuable. You don't need to show your schedule to prove you're productive. You don't need to post your struggle to prove you're strong. You just need to keep going, every day. Small steps, quiet decisions, clear values. Over time, these invisible habits become your armor. They give you confidence that can't be shaken, because it wasn't built on approval. It was built on truth. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." And adversity doesn't always come in the form of tragedy. Sometimes it's the quiet test, the temptation to quit, the urge to compare, the pull of distractions. When you pass these silent tests, you grow in a way that is deeper than anything the outside world can offer. You stop needing praise. You stop chasing recognition. You become enough for yourself. This is where true attraction begins. When someone sees a person who doesn't need the spotlight, but still shines, it's powerful. People trust the one who is consistent. They are drawn to the one who doesn't react emotionally. They feel safe around someone who controls their own thoughts, words, and actions. That's what invisible discipline creates. Not just respect, but trust. Not just attention, but quiet influence. So, if you want to become the first choice, not just for opportunities, but for relationships, for leadership, for impact, start here. Start with the habits no one sees. Start with the choices you make when you're alone. That is where everything changes. Because if you can lead yourself in the dark, people will naturally follow you in the light. And remember, you don't need the world to understand your journey. You just need to take the next right step. Over and over. Quietly. Steadily. Until your presence becomes louder than any speech. That is the power of invisible discipline. The quiet art of becoming irresistible. There is a kind of power that never raises its voice. It doesn't dress to impress, and it doesn't beg for approval. It simply exists, and people feel it. It's not the kind of power that demands attention. It's the kind that earns it. The person who lives with this power never chases the spotlight, yet somehow, the light always finds them. That's because there's something deeply magnetic about quiet strength. It cannot be faked. It comes only from inner order. What makes someone truly irresistible? Not the surface, not the smile, not the posture. It's something invisible, something you can't quite touch, but you feel it the moment they walk in. Their calmness says everything their words don't. Their eyes carry peace, not noise. Their energy doesn't drain the room, it restores it. And when they speak, even the loudest minds go still. This is not a personality trait. It is a life of discipline, forged in silence. A Stoic knows this truth. You don't have to prove your worth to be worthy. You don't need applause to be enough. You don't need attention to hold value. True attractiveness is born in stillness, in restraint, in the ability to walk through a world full of noise and remain untouched by it. People are not drawn to chaos. They are drawn to certainty, to someone who knows who they are and refuses to bend for every passing opinion. That certainty becomes a quiet fire, and people are drawn to the warmth of it. You become the first choice, not because you shout the loudest, but because you say the right thing at the right moment. You become the first choice because you don't interrupt others to prove your knowledge, but you listen deeply. You become the first choice because your presence offers safety, not pressure. You become the first choice because you are whole within yourself, and others feel at peace near you. People are not just looking for someone to admire. They are looking for someone to trust. And trust is born in consistency, not performance. A person who controls their emotions, who doesn't react to every slight, who carries themselves with dignity. This person becomes unforgettable, not because of what they do, but because of what they don't do. They don't complain. They don't gossip. They don't make promises they don't keep. They don't betray others to gain favor. They don't inflate themselves to seem important. This is the kind of person people return to again and again, not because they are loud, but because they are true. In the ancient writings of Epictetus, he said, "It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them." When you master your judgments, when you stop reacting out of ego or fear, something powerful happens. You become stable. And that stability makes you rare. In a world full of chaos, people look for anchors. If you become your own anchor, others will naturally want to stay close to you. That's how you become the first choice. Not through effort, but through essence. There's something sacred about the way a person carries themselves when they are no longer seeking approval. Their silence is rich. Their gestures are thoughtful. Their presence is enough. They don't fight to be seen, yet they are never invisible. They don't demand loyalty, but they earn it. They don't ask for respect, but they walk in it. This kind of person becomes a mirror. Others see the strength they long for reflected in them. And they keep coming back, trying to understand the source of that peace. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You need to be aligned. Aligned in your words, in your values, in your actions. That alignment speaks louder than charm. It speaks louder than wealth. It speaks louder than reputation. A Stoic aligns not to impress, but to remain free. And in that freedom, they walk lightly through the world, while others are weighed down by the opinions of strangers. That lightness is magnetic. That quietness is rare. That wholeness is beautiful. People might not understand what draws them to you, but they'll feel it. It might be your patience in tense moments, your smile that isn't forced, your ability to stay present when others are distracted, your refusal to react to insults, your steadiness when things fall apart, your silence when everyone else is rushing to speak. All of these things come from practice, from years of inner work, from choosing peace over pride, calm over chaos, purpose over popularity. You don't chase people. You don't try to convince anyone to stay. You don't beg to be chosen. Why? Because you have already chosen yourself. That single act, choosing yourself, is what sets everything in motion. When you respect your time, others do too. When you set clear boundaries, others rise to meet them. When you remain honest, even when it's hard, others trust you without needing explanations. And when you don't abandon yourself to be liked, others admire you, even if they can't explain why. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And often, it's our imagination that tells us we're not enough unless we're constantly seen, heard, validated. But the truth is, those who stand tallest don't stand on a stage. They stand on principle. And this kind of person doesn't just attract attention. They attract loyalty, respect, quiet admiration, because they remind others what it looks like to be whole. There's no secret formula, just a simple path. Master yourself. Be slow to speak, quick to listen. Be kind, but not a fool. Be calm, but not passive. Be disciplined, but not rigid. Be confident, but never arrogant. These things sound small, but they change everything. They turn you from someone who is chasing worth into someone who carries it. You won't need to convince others that you're the one. They'll feel it before you even speak. In the end, becoming irresistible is not about doing more. It's about being less controlled by the world around you, less shaken by storms, less triggered by criticism, less driven by fear, and more rooted in truth, more loyal to your principles, more consistent in your presence, more free in your mind. This quiet art, the art of becoming irresistible, is not something you learn overnight. It's a way of life, and the deeper you walk it, the brighter your silent flame burns.